After you have your binding sewn to the top of the quilt with your sewing machine, the next thing you need to do is wrap the binding around your seam allowance and hand tack this down by doing a blind stitch. What you want to do is tack the edge down so it's coming just beyond your sewing line right here, your line of stitches. So the first thing we're going to do, thread a needle with a single strand of thread, put a knot in the end, and I'm going to come into the seam allowance of the quilt here, and I'm going to run my needle through one time, and then I'm going to come through again, and I'm going to take my needle through the thread loop that I just created. And I'm actually going to do that a couple times because I want to be sure that my thread is really knotted really well when I get started. Then I'm going to fold my binding over so the edge of the binding just covers my row of machine stitching. I'm going to take my needle and take about 1/4 of an inch, tuck, little pinch of fabric out of the backing fabric. You don't want to take a whole lot or go very deep because you don't want it to show through to the front side. But you want to take just a 1/4 inch pinch. Then bring your needle up to the tip, the very edge of the binding, and pull your needle through. Do it again. Take a little pinch of your backing fabric, bring your needle up through the edge of the binding, and pull your needle on through. You want to keep going along the edge of your binding, taking a little bit of the backing and stitching in just the edge of your binding. And you want your stitches to be about 1/4 to 3/8 inch apart. No bigger than 3/8 of an inch because you want your binding to be tacked down pretty securely. Continue to do this until you get to the corner of your quilt. I'm almost to the corner, so what I want to do is take my binding and make sure that this edge lays flat all the way across, and what that creates is a 90-degree angle here, which is going to miter the corner. So I'm going to take just a couple more stitches to actually get to the corner of my fabric. Come up like that. Then I'm going to take this edge of my fabric and bring it around to the back. And what I've just done is created a mitered corner right there. So then what I want to do is tack down the edge of this mitered corner. So I'm going to take a little bit of my backing fabric and come up and just get the little tip of fabric on my binding, pull my thread pretty tautly, and then do it another time. And I probably will do it one more time just to be sure that miter is held really securely. Then what you want to do is come in here and tack down this edge of the miter so it doesn't get caught on anything. So you want to take a little bit of the underneath side of your binding, come up to the top side and just catch that edge right there. Right here is what you're catching. Do one more stitch to the top of the miter, coming up and catching the edge of the binding. Then you want to do this to the front side. So I'm going to put my needle down, coming to the front side of the quilt, like this. Then I'm going to pull my thread through. I'm going to take a little piece of the underneath side of the binding, come up through the top, take just a couple threads, and take one more stitch, taking just a couple threads on the top part of that mitered corner. Then I'm going to take my needle and come back through to the back side of the quilt, just like that. Then I have the back mitered and the front mitered, and both of them are held in place. Then I can turn my quilt and I continue to go down this edge. When I reach the end, all I have to do is make a little knot in my seam allowance, clip my thread, and you're done.